Hey guys, it's Drac, and this was a really cool viewer requested video from my Instagram at Lord Drac. But this is, of course, the Nerf Modulus Tri-Strike, which is our new bolt action hero. That's kind of how I've been thinking of it. And these are, of course, the original and then the more modern bolt action blasters that Nerf has made. And so this is a comparison slash versus video between the three. And at the end of it, I want you to let me know which one of these blasters you would choose, because I know that a lot of people have gotten to play with one of them, but not necessarily all three, and there's some significant differences that are very, very curious. So I guess we'll start at the very beginning, a very good place to start. This is the Nerf Longshot CS6. It's quite old at this point. It is the original in-strike blaster in that it pioneered the clip technology. Now it has space to store the clipazine in the back. This one is an old school yellow clip. And then of course it had an interesting gimmick. Now in addition to having a scope, which isn't on this one right now, but served no function, it has a deployable bipod that's built into the blaster, which is kind of cool for when you want to go prone. It's got an extendable stock here, which doesn't always hold up under pressure, but does a pretty decent job. And it uses standard bolt action. Now the really cool gimmick here, in addition to just being like one of the first and pioneering in-strike blasters, is the front gun. The front gun doesn't get a lot of love. In fact, most people hate the front gun, but up here we have a shotgun style prime, and then these were originally designed for an old school kind of dart called streamlines. If you don't know what a streamline dart is, you're the lucky one, because they were awful. But this was originally pitched as a 2-in-1 blaster, 2 triggers, 2 blasters, detachable like so, and well, there's a reason that the front gun was not very beloved, and that is in fact it. So the front gun is a terrible blaster, but we used to do all sorts of stuff like cut off the bipod and integrate the front gun into here, which has made the Longshot a modder's favorite for a very long time. People like FA24 and Rogue were Longshot experts, pioneering closed system breaches up in here with brass, and really taking advantage of just the massive plunger tube that comes inside the Longshot, allowing you to get just absolutely superior performance out of a rifle-style blaster. Even as dated as this blaster is, it's still getting decent shot. Well, that wasn't. When you had the front gun on, you lose some range. They were shooting so well before. Anyway, so topping out at a range of about 30 feet flat, it's just not an awesome blaster. Now, you can get it to fire harder than either of these blasters are capable of due to the massive plunger tube in this old school behemoth, but lots of space for cosmetics, lots of room for integrations, and an overall very, very fun blaster. Which brings us to the Longstrike, part of the much more modernized in-strike line, bringing out the Digicam, really getting tactical with some of this accessories and such. It had space for clipazine storage in the back. I'll demonstrate that after firing once. But what made this really, really cool is that in addition to being able to store 2 clips in the back, it really truly looks like a sniper rifle. At the time, it was Nerf's longest blaster, as evidenced by this. Now, when you extend that out, it's close, but it was a very long blaster. It's got a very sleek profile, but it's a small reverse plunger style blaster, like an original Alpha Trooper or a Recon. It just doesn't have that much performance, and even as opposed to those where you could at least attach a power stock into the stock attachment point and get some serious performance out of it, this guy just doesn't have much going for him. The Longstrike is terrible in terms of performance, but a favorite of cosmetic modders. Between the barrel attachment and the stock, it really has just an awesome ergonomic and feel. Looks great, is super duper comfortable. You don't have to reach far at all for this clip release, and it's just a good looking blaster. That said, without the performance, people have been forced to resort to putting air tanks in them, putting pumps out the back, air compressors, completely carving them up and putting flywheel systems in. In fact, Germ 781, I can't remember his numerical, but a guy named Germamine Perkins, actually a favorite modder of mine, put a barricades internals in the Longstrike, making what was the first semi-auto flywheel blaster ever. actually. It was really, really cool. I mean, that took clips. It's debatable. Don't worry about it. Anyway, this it originally came again with a weird little like iron sight attachment, but has a really cool ergonomic and feel to it. I like the Longstrike a lot from a cosmetic modifications perspective. I don't really like playing with them unless Nerfomania's had time to throw a 4B tank inside. And that brings us to the Tri-Strike, which in all honesty like breaks down in the most compact. So to make that clear, what I'm trying to say is, if you take all the gimmicks away from the Longshot, it's huge. If you take all the gimmicks away from the Longstrike, this is not supposed to be a removable stock. Now, the modification community does a mod where we can make it removable. It's still huge, even as a main body blaster. But once you remove all the gimmicks from the Tri-Strike, and gimmicks it has aplenty, the Tri-Strike becomes very compact. For a bolt action blaster, it is easily the smallest of the three, and functionally by far the best. It ships with a much better clip, and it ships with elite darts, which neither of these have done with the exception of the Zombie Strike reship. But that's serious performance. That is elite style performance from a micro direct plunger. This is a direct plunger blaster, this is a reverse plunger blaster, and this is also direct. This is just a direct plunger blaster with a serious spring and very tight, I guess, machining that allows for a compact burst. Elite internals are sweet is what I'm getting at, but the clip it shipped with has an extra 4 shots. The 10 clip is interesting as opposed to the 6s that these guys came with, and it just looks really good. It's got plenty of paintwork between the off green and the gray and the white and the orange, and I mean, it came with more stuff. All of its attachments actually did what they set out to do. So as opposed to the front gun, which wanted to shoot darts, the Tri-Strike actually does a semi-decent job of shooting mega darts from time to time. Even the HAMP system is better, and again, true to form with Nerf blasters getting more compact, it does more in less space, which is kind of cool. The Longstrike was entirely aesthetically built, but whereas both of these stocks held clips, which is a fine feature, don't get me wrong, the Tri-Strike chooses to shoot demolisher missiles into the ground if you don't know what you're doing with them. But I think that the Tri-Strike is by far and above the best performance piece out of the box. The Tri-Strike is certainly sweet in that regard. Now, there are all sorts of modifications that we've done, but we've had years to work with these blasters and come up with really, really cool ways to make them hit very, very hard. So, that's kind of a complete history of Nerf's bolt action beauties, and the ones that look like snipers, at least in my opinion. Which would you choose if you had unlimited The question is twofold. Which would you choose stock out of the box, just to have and own and play with at a war or otherwise? And then my second question is, if you were a modder, if you really wanted to build things and the sky was the limit, you had no materials objections or costs or anything like that, which blaster would you use as your base? Would you stick with the thing that already hits quite hard? Would you go old school with the Longshot? Or would you make something that's cosmetically very intriguing and beautiful with the Longstrike? I can tell you that personally, my choices for both of those questions, not to influence your answers, would be, I would choose the Tri-Strike if I had to have a battle right now, simply because performance over everything. And if I wanted to make something that was ultra special, ultra cool, I would actually go full old school and Angel Breach a Longshot and integrate something, sweeten it, and do some LED work. I've done that in the past. It works very well for me, and it's something that I'm familiar with, comfortable with, and enjoy. But not everybody has that background, so everybody's answer should be a little bit different. If you had your pick, which would you take? As always, guys, thanks for watching. That's been my Tri-Strike versus Longstrike versus Longshot video. Kind of just like comparing and contrasting all of these snipers, because not everyone can put 3 of them in front of them like this to really get a good side-by-side comparison. And I thought that it would be interesting, and the Instagram user requested it, so I hope you enjoy. And as always, guys, thanks for watching. Much love. Nerf on.